Actually, also to be so started in Massachusetts.
Es iepazinos ar vairākiem to latviešu kopienu šeit Phoenixā un Arizonā ar Andru Čakstiem un ģimeni jūs neesat bijuši kontaktā, ne? Ir tāds Andris Zomers, kurš tur organizējās un taisa sarīkojums tur gandrīz katrs 2-3 mēnešus.
Tieši
Phoenixā, Arizonā, jā. Skotsdēlā, Tulsonā, kādreiz kaut kur pārmaiņas, jā, bet Phoenixā pašā Phoenixā. Nu, es svinēju neatkarības dienu, tur 18. novembrī, pie viņiem vienu reizi tikai satikamies.
Jā.
Kad es atbraucu uz Phoenixu, vairāk kā 30 gadus atpakaļ. Es mēģināju kādas grupas atrast, bet es nevarēju atrast.
Ja jūs gribat sevi iepazīstināt e-pastiski vai kaut kā tā? Es nezinu, vai jūs gribat,
Tagad mums ir bailes. Tad mēs satikāmies, jā.
Mēs viņu tikai ar tavu svētkiem. Nu, nav viņi pārāk uzbādīgi, bet, ja gribās kaut ko latvisku, tad viņi kāpumā palika ļoti karši.
Jā.
Interesanti būtu, ja?
Tas jau tiešām iepazīstināties. Alstor man iedot tevi.
Haven't such much okay.
I'll just go with my presentation. Hi. How are you? Oh,
I can't know in which order are we doing this.
I'm going first now. Hello.
Okay, and then
I'm sick.
Oh, am I in trouble?
How are you? Thanks for being here.
What a message to the world.
Alright.
Oh. Okay, thank you.
Divas mēnešus. Es šogad meklēju praksi kaut kur citur, citā štatā uz 6 visiem. Mēs visi braucam projām. Kad es to atradīšu, atzīvošu 6 nedēļas, tu brauc mājās.
Kur
Rītā.
Martha.
See what you do.
Hello. How are you?
Good,
Good. Hey, how are you? I haven't seen you in so long.
I know.
We've met out twice. It's along with Martha.
Well, that's because he's retired. Some of us have to work.
Yeah, I know. You did?
Stanley, I suppose, you go, how many times do you go there?
Only once.
Once, just once?
Yeah, just that one time in Daisy.
Daisy?
Mhm.
Yeah. When a mom might well say, it's really their sister.
Nav viss?
So that's.
Ai, lūdzu, atpakaļ! Nezinu, te ļoti skaisti koncertāli, ļoti labi kvalitīvi koncerti. Vispār tur ļoti skaisti. Jā.
That's gonna be things that might start to be a fine occasion for the people infected. And then Baptist ministers, some of us Baptist ministers, and really, it's as it was when I did it. Never been amazing, maybe, to put things there.
Yes, but
What are you gonna do on your vacation?
Wednesday I'm going to Denver.
Oh, good.
It's till Sunday, so basically I work just Monday and Tuesday. I don't know. Right.
You going for your internship interviews or just going?
I'm still emailing.
Yeah. Places like you prefer to go?
Yes, I do. And actually yesterday I got another introduction from one of my courses, so I'm still expecting something good to happen with me.
Well,
But
This just wasn't the right fit, that's all. Where have you been in the United States?
To LA, to Washington DC, to down
That's-
Switzerland, and Dallas.
Oh, here.
Chicago.
When you were here before,
Minneapolis,
before
yes.
this, right?
Yeah, I've been here 10 years. And I was New York City. And after that, I went
For the big spots.
Kinda, yes.
They used to do a lot more traveling. I didn't do as much as they used to. Really? No, I mean, school.
Oh,
used to take
okay.
hours.
But we're going now at the end of the month, we're going to use the days in California
Good.
for a couple of days.
Yes.
Hi, thanks for coming. I didn't think you were alive.
I didn't either, but I canceled someone else.
She's one.
I'm gonna sit towards the back.
Okay, good.
Just in case I'm-
Okay. Yes, we're in
We will do just fine.
I think so that's my note here now, so I don't feel very. Rules with it. It's hard to do that, but we have a lot to do. The microphone? Welcome. I will mention you actually.
Okay. Okay.
I will not ask.
I must say it's Hollywood studio.
Pragmatic is not getting the investment.
Second gen. Yeah.
Good. Hi, I'm sick, so don't go near me.
Oh,
No, I don't know. Maybe Alisa? Okay. I thought you said walls, walls, and circles are hot. Survive that yet.
And also a lot of the.
No, thanks.
Well, she'll be here next week. I shouldn't. I feel
Which one? Me.
Did you volunteer?
Yes. No, and it makes more sense since both of them are doing.
Right, yeah, it makes sense, right?
One no less.
For some reason, I'm more nervous for today than yesterday, and yesterday there were more people.
Look at the crowd.
I don't know.
Is it fine? No worries.
My hair messy. I'm okay.
Customer service rep is what she's doing now in California.
It does. So last night I got so I was super knocked out.
Your eyes look like as if you're suffering.
Really? But my throat is actually better.
Oh.
It's not as itchy anymore.
Oh, when she went back to California.
But I think
It's dark without knowing she's really operating.
I think he had the same one as this.
I know, but is it loaded it up?
No, although it's in my USB in case.
But is Marta's going first?
I don't care.
Huh?
I think I'm going.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Hold on. So, oh,
Within 3 days, it was like boom, boom, boom. It was definitely. She didn't tell us she had a flaw. And that's why she came on Monday. Okay, to meet with you guys, but also to be with you. And she hadn't had an official, I don't know, wanted to meet her, tell in person.
I'm not going to show your pictures, I'm just going to wait because you don't need to hear me talk about Cronkite. Nobody wants to hear you guys, so you're going to go first.
Yes.
Do you have your document?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Although I have one prepared yesterday in my.
I know, but the problem is I don't have it for sure. It's just, if I do that, I'll take 8 minutes explaining it, it'd be better than you guys.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll use the opening.
Multiple casinos. American corporation. So we have.
So, Elise, sorry, excuse me, Dartmouth.
I'm sure she'll get
Okay.
grants.
But it's fine to do three.
Okay, but it's just him trying to load up his slides and stuff. Oh, okay. So, should we start? Why not?
Do you want to? Okay.
Oh, you?
I'm good, how are you?
Fine.
I think I'm gonna get up before I start the
There's plenty of seats along the table, or you can sit along the side, wherever you're most comfortable. Delighted to have you join us for our last Cronkite Global Conversations of 2016. Glad to have faculty mentors here, guests from the community, friendship families, friends of the fellows, other faculty. It's a delight. I'm Bill Silcott from Cronkite Global Initiatives. I won't give you the long commercial about the great things we do because it's going to be evident as we let our fellows speak. We have 3 fellows who will visit with us today, and welcome to those who are watching at home or around the world through the webinar that's made possible by our good colleague and friend, program manager, Christy Kappas, who for those in person, sorry you webinar folks, we have free cookies. If you come here in person, we'll give you a cookie, or you have to sign for your cookie. So we're gonna pass that sheet around. That keeps the IRS happy. We have 3 delightful fellows who will present today above and about a big broad theme called The Journey to Hope. First, Aisel Karangal from the Philippines will talk about some of her experience as a documentary film producer. Then we'll go to Marta from Latvia, who will have an interesting perspective on the refugee crisis, historical and contemporary. And we'll finish up with Darko Inovic from Montenegro, which will really make us think about even our own American election in context of what's going on in what he might sometimes refer to as Fortress Europe. With that said, let's turn the time over to Aisel.
Guys, take your seat. Hi, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I'm Criselda Karinga, as Dr. Bill said. I'm a documentary producer from the Philippines. I've been working on TV for the last 10 years. And for the last 5 years, I've been working with a documentary program called Eyewitness. So this afternoon, I'm going to tell you a little bit about dancing, a little bit about boxing, and a little bit about the Philippine prison system and how all of this is connected to this guy. His name is Jimmy Barian. He comes from a really remote community, very poor, no signal, no electricity. And then one night, he was drinking with his friends, and he got into a brawl. One of his friends tried to stab him, so he shot his friend. So now he's in jail for frustrated murder. So, speaking of jails, if Arizona is known for Chef Joe Arpaio's tent city, the jails in the Philippines, one jail in particular, it's called the Cebu Provincial Detention and Rehabilitation Center, is known for this. I hope it plays. It played the Carl's Jr. Sorry.
Get a double
Let's wait
cheeseburger,
for that commercial to finish.
fries, and a
I
Coke.
queued it up.
It's the
It's
heavyweight
not
champion.
known for Carl's Jr.
The $4
It's known for
meal.
something
Oh,
else.
the artisan Carl's Jr.
Okay, this is what the jail is known for.
All right, wait a minute. Inmates of CBSE,
Okay, just so you know, that's Michael Jackson's choreographer. His name is Travis Lee.
Oh.
Okay, so basically the Cebu Provincial Jail is known for their dancing inmates. Okay, wait a minute. Let's go back. All right. So back in 2007, their choreographer put out their practice video of the inmates dancing, and it got viral. And then international media got crazy. So CNN, Al Jazeera, BBC went to Cebu Provincial Jail and documented the dancing inmates. But before going here to the States, the Cebu Provincial Jail had something new brewing because the dancing was like waning from popularity. And then we heard that as part of their rehabilitation program, they have now included boxing for the inmates. So I can't talk about the Philippines and boxing without mentioning Manny Pacquiao. So I'm not sure who's a boxing fan here, but thank you. Manny Pacquiao is the first and only 8-division world champion. If you're a fan, you would know that he fought against Floyd Mayweather last year.
And one, actually.
Yeah, but it was very contested fight and all. And then this April, he's gonna go against Timothy Bradley. Basically, Pacquiao, everyone in the Philippines aspires to be Pacquiao because he is your classic rags to riches story. I mean, there's one thing you have to know about the Philippines. Our population is 100 million people, and 1/4 of them live below the poverty line. And Pacquiao is one of those guys who lived below the poverty line but made it. So everyone wants to be like him, even people in jail, apparently. So we found out that the Cebu Provincial Jail is going to have a boxing match. So we thought of actually making a documentary about it. Hence, this is what you see. That's our T card. That's our title card for the documentary. It's called Boxing Inmates. And we were playing around with the idea of, will the next Philippine boxing great come from prison? Okay. And that's where we met Jimmy. Jimmy, like many other Filipinos, wants to be like Pacquiao. So we followed his story and we followed his upcoming boxing match. And this is a clip from our documentary. It's in Filipino, by the way, but it has subtitles, so you guys can just
Araw na ito kasi gaganapin ang first prison pro and amateur boxing fights, kung saan lalaban sa mga layang boxers ang mga boksingero ng presong ito. Ang boxing program ay may basbas ng lokal na pamahalaan. Taong 2013, sinimulan ang programang boxing bilang rehabilitasyon sa CPDRC. 88 sa mahigit 2,000 inmate ang sumali rito noong umpisa. Pero 12 lang ang natira. At sa gabi yon, 4 ang nakapasang lumaban.
Okay, so that's a clip from our documentary. Okay, so all this dancing and all this boxing, those are actually just fluff. The real thing happening in our jail system, actually our jail system is a very imperfect system. It's very congested and very overcrowded. In a study, our jails are congested by 410%. And each inmate has less than a square meter of space. And that's also because of the very slow justice system. From the start when they are caught to the time when they go to hearings, it takes years. Like when you're caught, the physical is usually not there, so they have to wait a week to find out whether there's actually a case or not. And finally, when they're moved to the jails, their arraignment, that's when they plead guilty or not. It may take months. And then finally, when they're going to have hearings, the hearings can actually go on for years. That's one of the reasons why the jails are very overcrowded and congested. Yeah, and it's because of the postponement due to absences and inefficiencies. So sometimes the judge isn't there, sometimes the lawyers aren't there, and it just piles up. Actually, I spoke to an inmate, one of the inmates, and he was in there for petty theft. And he has been in jail for 5 years, when in fact his sentence was only 1. So that's the whole backdrop. Okay, so now you're gonna ask, so why boxing? Why dancing? What's happening here? So basically, jails are really supposed to be for rehabilitation, aside from detention. And for all we know, half of them may be innocent. So what Cebu Provincial Jail wanted to do was to put dancing and boxing as a form of rehabilitation. The history there is the Cebu Provincial Jail used to be in a really old facility, and then when they moved to a new facility 10 years ago, it was up in the mountains and it was much colder. So they needed a way for the inmates to move. They needed a way for the inmates to have some exercise. So that's why they thought of dancing and boxing. And it was also a way to instill discipline and cooperation among the inmates. And then an offshoot of this dancing and boxing, they became popular. They became viral on YouTube. And then they actually have now a new identity. They are now dancing inmates or boxing inmates. And actually the families are proud of them because of that. And then, but most of all, I think the most important part of this, it actually generates income for them. The whole dancing thing, it has actually become a tourist destination. So tourists go there once a month to watch the inmates dance. And when the tourists come, there are donations, and then the tourists end up buying souvenirs, and that all goes to the prison, to the inmates. And with the amateur boxing, there's actually prize money for the fighters. So if you're a fighter, you can get 500 pesos, which amounts to $10. And that's enough for them to buy simple toiletries. Okay, so going back to Jimmy, the guy who you saw from the start, we followed his life in prison, and we found out that his parents weren't able to visit him for the last 6 years because they live in a very remote community. As I said, no electricity, no signal, far from the city. So what we did was we picked up his father. His mother couldn't make it because she was too weak. We picked up his father and brought him to finally visit Jimmy. So that is, I want to show you the clip, but we don't have much time. So that's them. That's Jimmy with his father. And we reunited them just in time for the father to be able to watch his fight. Okay, and this is the last part of our documentary. So of course we followed him and we wanted to see, will Jimmy actually win? So this is his fight, and this is the last part of our docu.
Kulang man sa teknik, sugod pa rin ang sugod si Dagod. Napatunayan din niya sa kanyang ama na ang dating huli sa bukid ay sa boxing na lang ginagamit ng kaloob. Pag-ring ng bell, tigil din ang suntok. Ginagalang niya ang kalaban, ginagalang ang ref, ginagalang ang kapwa.
Boxing event Patong Manila and Matibay. The winner with a total score of 2-1. The prize of CBSC Super.
Naipakita ni Dagod sa harap ng kanyang ama at sa ating lahat na ang mga akala mo ay talunan sa laro ng buhay, may kakayahan pa rin baguhin ang kanilang landas. Mabigyan lang ng pagkakataon.
Ang saya-saya ko sa magpapang ko.
Maaring sa selda panahanap ni Dagod ang isang natatanging kalayaan. Ang kalayaang pumili kung anong klaseng tao ang nais mong maging. Mula sa Cebu, ako si Howie Severin at ito ang Eyewitness.
Alright, and that's the end of my presentation.
Is fighting in the ring. So who's got a question for Isla? We'll take about 2 minutes to do some questions. Joe?
Is Tabul ready from prison now?
No, he's still waiting for his hearings.
He hasn't been convicted.
Not yet. He's still waiting for his sentence. That's what all of them are doing. They're waiting.
Wow. Do they go somewhere else after their sentence?
Yes, it's called Believe It Prison. That's a maximum security prison if they are sentenced to do that. That's in Manila.
And how long has he been gone?
He's been there for 6 years now. Counting this year, it's his 7th.
One more question, Professor Lucky.
I can certainly see the positives of teaching them to dance. Do you think in teaching them a lot of the martial arts and boxing and so forth, is it making them tougher when they get in the outside world? Is it making them more?
Actually, we also thought of asking that. Is it actually making them more aggressive? But the truth is, their system of teaching is not very, it's not very formal. There isn't really a coach. It's basically something to give them something to do with their time, basically. So it's not like they're learning how to do the proper stance and all that. It's really just something to move their muscles, basically, and to exercise their mind.
Let's take your final question, sir.
Is there any process to alleviate this situation where these people are in there or not?
You know what? There are a lot of non-government organizations that try to like hasten the justice system.
Yeah.
Like we have Justice on Wheels. These are actually lawyers on a bus going from one prison to the other, trying to check the papers of these prisoners. But basically, there is really none that can actually affect the system properly.
So the government really wants to keep it this way.
It's not that they want to keep it this way, it's just that it's a very broken system that solutions really have to be in every level.
Excellent, and you may have additional questions for Isel, you can chat with her afterwards. Isel's a great documentary maker, so is Martha. And these two are working on a project here in Arizona, which you'll see later on in April if you come, we hope. But right now, Martha's gonna focus on her homework.
Hi everybody, my name is Marta Terava and I'm an editor-in-chief of Public Broadcasting Company's online newsroom back home. Today I want to bring a local perspective to this global conversations. I will speak about how Latvia reacted to the European refugee crisis. This will not be a presentation on why there is such a crisis and where do people come from, but it's of my country's perspective on this question. First of all, a few numbers that we should take into account when talking about the refugee crisis. Last year, there were 1.2 million asylum seekers that arrived in the European Union. Already this year, there have been over 100,000 people. Many have died last year, continuing dying this year in the Mediterranean, trying to cross the sea. All this of course, have raised harsh disputes in European Union institutions and brought back some borders, have raised discussion about introducing refugee quota system, and of course, talking about European solidarity. This is a map to show you a bit of the movements, which I'm not going to talk about, but I wanted to show you where Latvia is in this map. As you can see, it's not directly affected anyhow, but what we are close by Sweden and Finland, which are the countries which used to be considered as the best countries for asylum seekers. They have the best benefits for them. Our country is not one of them. What happened in Latvia? Already last year, when this refugee question started to grow, first thing that that kind of united or polarized society was our people in Latvia was fear. As the poster shows, it's actually a poster from my news portal. It shows the Latvian people. They're all white. They don't know diversity in the country. Also, the main religion, we have only Christian religion, basically, almost. We have no other cultures to learn from there. So it was a fear from different. And then the next thing that happened is we started noticing also political polarization. It became a new kind of a hot potato to talk about, and politicians found new reason somehow to polarize society against each other, and they found a pedestal for themselves to show off with their positions on this topic. And then there were a few more rational disputes, like we have no infrastructure. What are these people going to do there? Where are they going to live? How are they going to be educated? And the fourth one, which has always been an important topic for our country, is money. We always consider that we are out of money for everything. Well, are we going to pay for someone else now, and how much are we going to pay? So finally, the final sum that politicians agreed to pay to these people is $2.3 a day, which is just the minimum not to consider these people poor by our law. So it's absolutely the minimum. To talk about some numbers, why we had this fear. The fear was started actually rising in our country is when European Union countries solidarily agreed that during next 2 years there will be 160,000 people displaced throughout all European Union states. So Latvia is one of them. We just have to take some in. That was a crazy discussion. Like, we have to take someone in. So since last summer, we've been discussing how many are we able to take in. And just to have a little clue about how large our country is, we have 2 million people. And we've been discussing like about every single refugee we could take in. Like 200 is a lot, 500 is a lot, 700 is a lot. Every single person is too many. That was the discussion. Finally, the minimum that we have to take in is just a little bit above 500. And since only in February, the first 6 have arrived to our country. It's been a long process to establish all the infrastructure that's needed and evaluation process and everything. And it turned out that not so many actually want to go to Baltics. Well, obviously, people say they don't want them, they don't give money. There are no other people of their kind. No one wanted to come there, but 6 have arrived, and I believe many more will do, because it's a placement. I mean, it's better than nothing. And these are 2 families from Syria and Eritrea, and the media coverage has been quite pleasing, and they're learning Latvian and look fine. And but what has happened outside the political field, although these are also a part of politics in our country, it has brought people to the streets. And not so many questions can bring our people to the streets, and this one did. There have been protests pro and against accepting refugees. No violation, everything peaceful and nice. We're not violent people, we're nice people. And I believe protests will go on. But besides the protests, what is more disturbing is the information war has kind of started. And I call this a war because it's a quote from one of the opinion leaders of one of the polarized sides, who thinks that this is war against taking in refugees, and he thinks that even misinformation and confrontation against refugees is valid information in this war. So what's been happening is there have been a lot of fake news or fake fake social media messages with fake information about the violence of refugees or immigrants or people of a kind. And this is rising a lot of, again, more polarization, more anger, and disapproval of this policy. And as I work for a public broadcasting company, then of course misinformation is something we have to fight against. And I haven't been there for a half year, but this is what we did last summer when we realized that yes, we are going to take people in. We try to put a human face to these people. So we send reporters to the bordering countries where where people are waiting at the fences or at these centers to talk to these people. Why are they coming to our countries? And these are three of the persons we spoke with, and we published these stories intensively, and we got a lot of criticism because why are we kind of taking sides? But we're not taking sides. We're just showing their people. And so, what a typical person would think of refugee crisis or refugees coming to our country. This is a quote from one interview or reportage from my public radio station, and it shows that she's not against those people. She's fair. She's empathetic. But then she says that we Latvians are so few already, and I wouldn't like to have more mixed and steer here, and her heart is aching. So what is she talking about? I believe she's talking about this. Our country have experienced something similar. Our people can relate very well to refugee crisis because Latvians were refugees themselves 70 years ago. Actually, at this table today, we can see 3 of them from my country. And yes, that time they were crossing the Baltic Sea in boats, not all, but many, to go to Sweden, and others went to Germany as well, like today. I think many more million went there. But that time, they were called betrayers, but by whom? And why are they were running away? Well, they were running away because Latvia was under occupations. And we had 3 occupations, by Soviet Union 2 and 1 by Germany. And what happened is, first of all, war, and secondly, there were deportations. 1/3 of our population was sent to Siberia, and basically they wanted to save their lives. And so why is this mix and steer? Why is she worried about our population being so small? This woman I spoke for, it's because also, and this has been used by politicians as a strong argument, and we have to be very critical to consider a strong argument, but this has been an argument in this discussion that during Soviet times, our country received more than 800,000 new people from other Soviet republics, and that's changing our Latvian speaker share in the country from 76% to 50%, meaning that we have a lot of people who are not Latvians in our country, meaning these politicians saying that we already have immigrants here. Let's count them in. Second generation immigrants. 3rd generation immigrants. Let's skip this European quota system with this argument. But it's still in the memory because those people are still alive, right? And just to finish the conversation, there are 2 other more maybe rational arguments that's been also discussed, but not that widely, but that we should take into account. Our demographics is decreasing. We need those people to fulfill our jobs and make new babies, and many other European countries too. And that's been discussed also, but it doesn't have much supporters. And the last thing is the educational system. I'm not sure what being taught today, but I'm sure it still needs improvement because we have a lot of people who have no awareness of who's coming in, who they are, why, and what it is to live together with other kind of people. Thank you.
Very powerful, very personal. Thank you. So, a couple of questions for Marta while we switch and do some things.
Okay,
So,
why such a, it seems like an arbitrary number, 531. Why is where did that come from? So
It's a minimum. I cannot tell you. It's weird. Anyone else?
Can you just say again, like back to that map at the beginning, is Latvia a member of Schengen and the EU?
Yes, it is.
So compared to other European Union states, how do you perceive Latvia responding to this crisis?
It's been pretty similar in other Baltic states. We are kind of making a coalition with other countries, and I don't want to express my own opinion, but we are in the same coalition with the countries who are more kind of conservative at this point, because we have a quite conservative party in our government at the moment, so we're leading that direction at the moment. With Hungary, for example, together, maybe.
Mark, how did you guys go here?
How?
Your refugees formally.
They're my friendship family.
Oh my God.
That's why we chose her, because we had a Latvian in the family.
Professor Leckie.
Do you think they can be assimilated? Because, you know, Europeans aren't crazy about other Europeans, let alone other people from totally different places. Can they be?
Yeah, we've been talking about assimilation or integration, even with these Russian speakers from all other Soviet Union republics, and we consider we are failing in it. So I don't know really.
You just wondered whether they would become second-class citizens forever.
Very likely, unfortunately, yes, very likely.
Do you find the countries outside the European Union are more accepting the refugees?
Well, let's see what Darko says, because he's from one outside.
It's going to be a great segue in just a second. Let's one more head. Sir, did you have another question?
Yeah, I can't remember if you said this or not in the presentation, but has Latvia closed any of its borders or?
No, but but we are at the outside border of the European Union, so we have a very with Russia, and it's already quite strong border, and we're not closing the other ones now.
Okay.
No. No one's coming in. We are very far so far.
Okay. Sorry, what we see in the media is like people like scrambling in these rubber boats and going to all these different countries. How does it look like in your border? I mean, how the 6 people? How did they cross? Were they also on a rubber boat?
They were taken in through the system, but somehow like quota system. They came by plane, nicely visited, like I don't know. Photographed. I mean, like celebrities for 1 week or so.
Does Latvia usually take in a number of people?
We have few who've been coming in asking for asylum and living in quite bad conditions. We have a center who deals with this, but it's not like a large number of people every year. Very, very few, and we sometimes catch also illegals on the border with Russia. But not from these countries that are now making this crisis.
Thank you very much, Marta. Again, individual questions when we're done here. Darko is our last presenter, and he'll continue to tell us the story of contemporary refugee crisis in Europe, which actually is an interesting subject matter that Professor Rick Rodriguez and his Borderlands class here at Cronkite is doing. 3 of the reporters are here today, and how many, Sarah, are getting on a plane on Friday? 20 of them will be based in Hungary and do some in-depth reporting on this whole issue. So great preparation.
Hi, everybody. I'm Darko Ivanovic. I'm from Montenegro. How many of you know where Montenegro is? I know the billboard, yeah. Friends and family, my wife, yeah. It's a small country in Balkans. I don't know. Balkans is let's say nowadays it's a gateway to Europe for the refugees. I grew up in that country when I was like 10 years old. Up until my coming of age, I was surrounded by immigrants and refugees from the war-tormented country of Yugoslavia, from which I'm the part of. I grew up going at 6 a.m. each day, standing in a couple of miles long line, waiting for 1 liter of milk, 1 loaf of bread, waiting even in front of the kiosks for 1 cigarette from my mother. Not a box, not a package, 1 cigarette. So my country was under sanctions, UN sanctions. And It doesn't work. Okay, whatever. Keep what?
This keyboard.
No, okay, I will. We will like, okay, it works, perfect.
It's off.
It's off?
No,
Doesn't
yeah.
Okay, it works. And then I grew up with refugees, and they were embedded in my society. They stayed there, they lived there, and we are proud to say that they are an equal part of our community now. Coming from that place, what happens in Europe nowadays is what I've been living throughout my childhood. And I feel for these people. And no wonder I'm starting with this image. Does anybody know what is this?
This is the recent
Yes.
image, got #1.
Yeah, journalist knows, Raj knows. It's the World Press Photo Contest winner for the 2015. It's the photo of Australian Warren Richardson. And this is not far away from where I live. And it's shot in the pitch black dark. It's a Syrian refugee on the border of Serbia and Hungary, tossing his baby towards his wife in the dark, and the photographer did not turn on his flashlight. Because if he did, the police would see them. So this image that is the winner of all the beautiful photographies, of all the contests, is a powerful image to portray what are the Syrians, what are the refugees, immigrants, you name them, coming through when they come into other countries and in search for a better life. Why am I saying all of this? Because today, Europe is going to close its borders. It's so much discussed in Europe that some of the press is calling it Fortress Europe. All of the countries now, in these recent weeks, and trust me, I have assembled this presentation 3 months ago and then changed it immensely, because the situation of the refugees changed in a week's notice, days' notice, not even months. So why Fortress Europe? Because all of the countries in Europe are afraid for their peace, stability, their demographics. As you can see, Latvians even if you consider that they are in the north, because a huge number of people are coming into Europe. So it's being called Fortress Europe, as you can see from the press. Refugees are coming, so we have to build fences, we have to build barbed wire to prevent them to come. And Europe keeps forgetting one thing that is crucial for this. And that one thing is that Europe was called Fortress Europe. And you know what time was it? Does anybody remember these times? This is Fortress Europe of Hitler. To prevent the D-Day, to prevent Normandy happening. So Europe keeps forgetting things when it was Fortress Europe, when it was close to everybody. When the Nazis were raging all over Europe and we were conquered by this evil force, by these evil powers. So that was Fortress Europe also. I'm reaching my point. What are the immigrants being portrayed? There were like this huge wave of people coming to intrude our lives, coming to disrupt us, coming to change our demographics. There were this bunch of people, this nameless horde that is coming to get us. As one journalist said, a devilish, dangerous, elusive, and relentless presence threatens the borders. They come from the sea. a shapeless horde, a scary multitude. It reminds me of certain depictions. Certain one is in the horror movies. You know who is depicted in that manner? Zombies are. So when we talk about that, just look how my colleagues portray that. Real life images of refugees coming. Does it remind you of something? It's an irony piece, but take a look at it. Take a close look at it. How does press see that? This is from the Z Nation with Brad Pitt.
Hey, Shepard Smith on the Fox News deck in New York with great news for you and family there. You can all sleep soundly at night because the United States government now has a full, detailed plan to deal with the zombie apocalypse. I kid you not. The Pentagon is prepared to deal with the walking dead. The document includes guidelines for military operations to preserve, quote, non-zombie humans, unquote, from the threats posed by a, quote, zombie horde. Could not, would not, never could make this up. This is from the freaking Pentagon. According to a spokeswoman for the United States Strategic Command, the plan certainly exists. Of course we're planning for the zombie apocalypse, but it's just a training tool.
Budapest railway station. Does it remind you of movies in any way? Before the huge wave, they were portrayed as huge hordes coming. And this is from the movie, not to be confused. This is real life. Once again, this is how press sees it. This is Spain.
Zombies are everywhere. Zombies are freaking choking the global economy. Zombies are on the street. You go out here in Manhattan, you see plenty of zombies. You go to London, it's chock-a-block with zombies. And zombies have infiltrated the global economy, the global banking system. It's causing mayhem.
It's causing mayhem. So this is what happened in Europe in those days. This is Lega Nord. I don't know if anybody heard about Lega Nord, north of Italy. They're likely to be portrayed as a total right-wing, even close to fascism party. And I'll translate these headlines of their newspapers. Is we have stopped an invasion. This is both the refugees. And this is very meaningful if you look at it from the Americans' perspective. They have been under migrants, and now they live in the reservations. This is how that party sees Italy in a couple of years. Italians will be in reservations, and the hordes of people will come and conquer the land. So this is the rhetorics of the far right in Europe. Why am I saying this? Because in the meantime, we saw immigrants on streets. We saw them as normal people fleeing. We saw them as people smiling, people willing to contribute, people escaping the evil atrocities of war. Between a sledgehammer, Assad, and a hard place called ISIS. They had nowhere to go. And they were on our streets. And then intellectuals of Europe started to portray them as normal humans and said no one is illegal. Zombies need hugs too. No more Fortress Europe. Intellectuals, normal people. So even the zombies moving actually. So what happened? What is going on that changed everything? One boy happened. Somewhere in the summer of 2014, one boy happened. 15, sorry. I'm old. This is 16. In summer of 2015. You know who that boy is?
Yes, that little boy.
Journalist, no.
Yes, that's.
Let me present to you that boy. Little Kurt. Washed up at the shores of Greece. Dead along with 3,000 more immigrants and counting. You want to see him up close? This is a 3-year-old kid. He went with his family from Syria to the shores of Turkey and died. This is him a couple of months prior to that. Like any normal kid, laughing, cheering, enjoying life. And then Syria happened. This is how media portrays refugees. This is all hypocrisy of the media in Europe. On the left side, before the wave came, this is the before the wave. The swarm on our streets, portrayed as thieves, criminals. Does it sound familiar? And then boy dies, tiny victim of a human catastrophe. Everything, the PR of the war of the immigrants changed in Europe. Something happened. Europe changed its perspective, but it fell into another trap. Refugees and illegal immigrants are the two faces of the same coin. Now in Europe, you have something that is called first and second grade immigrants. Now that far right that I showed you with those headlines that they stopped the invasion and stuff are saying that, okay, we will accept those that are fleeing from the war, but all the others are not welcome. So we have first grade refugees and the second grade refugees. How is that possible? How is it possible to portray somebody as acceptable and the others are not? Well, Europe is under serious threat because it doesn't look in its past in order to seek for the answers for now, solutions for now. All of this happened because of the irresponsible conduct of the West. All of this happened because the hypocrisy of the West. All of this happened because the selective memory of the West. Because it was colonialism first and economic exploitation then. To make it more clearer to you, let's see the map. These are the countries in Europe that are highly opposing the immigration wave and trying to build fences, trying to stop the wave. United Kingdom, 115 colonies. You were one of them. France, 53. Netherlands, Germany, 20. Italy, 7. Greece, 1. So West keeps forgetting that Europe is even made by refugees, by immigrants, by those who were changing their place of dwelling. Barbarians came from the north, conquered the Roman Empire. Everybody was shifting. So that's how Europe came to be. Europe is now paying a bill for an economic and social model based on the structural inequalities between North and South. In every country, even in my country, there is inequality between the North and South. A small Montenegro, 600,000 people. It's being a bill for the result of the non-existent political solidarity of the old continent, unable to propose a unitary policy. They are richer and they are more poor. And these are the staggering facts. We don't accept refugees, but in the same time, according to the latest surveys, average annual salary of MP, member of the parliament, is 213,000 euros. Multiply that by the 751 MPs, and you get annual costs of salaries in around 160 million euros, and no money for refugees? Strange. And this is even more striking. In the midst of a financial crisis, annual mission and the representation costs of the European Commission president and the commissioners, it is not those 700 and something guys, but smaller amount, amounted up to 4 million euro. And you know what the representation is actually? It's what they eat. It's the lunches. They spent 4 million bucks on the lunches. Eating, representing European. Okay. And no money for refugees? And look at this. The 28 countries had hard times finding an agreement about 140,000 immigrants, while Lebanon alone hosts around a million of them. The impression is that the numbers are used strategically in order to hide a real problem, and that's what I was telling you about. We can tolerate only the functional immigrant. What is the functional immigrant? Does anybody know?
Good education.
Those that have PhDs that are that speak language, and so this segregation between those who are in need is terrible. Okay, those who can work, welcome, and those who cannot, better luck next time. Let's close the borders. Let's close the railways. If they go through railways, let's close the roads. Go through the roads. Let's close the roads and bring police to the mountain areas. And then if they go around, our tactic, well, we'll find a way to solve it. So this is the wave. Now I'll tell you the figures. It is the figures of today, practically. This year, 350,000 immigrants have arrived in Europe by sea compared to 2019 during the whole of 2014. Itself a record year. Greece alone has seen 234,000 people land on its shores compared to 35,000 in 2014. So the things are amounting. This is the number that came across the sea to Italy, to Greece, to Spain, and they keep coming. And this is the other side of the coin. How many of them are dead? Most of the Mediterranean region, 2,643 dead people, including the little Kurdi that you saw on the beach. So Europe has no policy. Europe has a policy to divide. Europe has a policy to close borders, to shut borders, and not do a damn thing. Europe has irresponsible politicians that are only looking to survive their mandate and search for the answers that are short-term, not long-term. Europe is a graveyard of life-saving West. Europe is now this, it should be this. Why am I saying all of this? I come from the country that received the most refugees from 2000, as you can see, 11 up to 2015 in Europe per 100,000 people. more than United Kingdom, France, Germany, Spain, Greece combined. I come from a country that has refugees accepted. And I come from a country which is living with refugees for the last 20 years. Nothing happens to us. We're not eaten by anybody. We're their friends. They're our neighbors. So no fortress Europe should be in place unless we're going to go back to 40s of the last century. Thank you.
We have been well fed today, and we've got 5 minutes for the dessert, which is questions for all three. Isel and Marta and Darko come back up here. Let's take a couple for Darko specifically, and then if you've got to want to broaden out the conversation. You got a fireball for Darko?
There is an opinion in Pakistan that basically Europe is against the refugees or immigrants because of the reason that some companies, they are feeling threatened that when these people will come, the wages will go down and there will be less employment for European people and these sorts of things. So
there are actually...
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
There's an opinion in Pakistan that companies in Europe are practically preventing this happening because it's going to decrease the minimum wage practically for the Europeans. So it's going to hurt economy. But there's an elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is practically hypocrisy of Europe. They want people to work for them with the minimum wage, but they're still want to protecting the workers of theirs. So that's hypocrisy. And you know what? Prime Minister of Hungary recently said that this is a threat to Christianity. And we're going to do everything to prevent this, the way. So the Islam is threatening Europe.
I can maybe add, in my country, and I'm sure in other European Union countries, there's a minimum wage you can pay for third world country people, and it's higher than minimum wage. So actually, sometimes it turns out the local ones earn less than the ones coming in because law says that this is the minimum we can pay for the ones coming in. So
why don't you feel that the Arab countries should be taking some of these immigrants instead of the burden all being thrust on the European countries?
Well, refugees are those who are picking the continent.
Oh.
They're going to countries where they find better living.
But why aren't they being encouraged by the Arab countries who are their faith and their same background and whatever?
They can only be forced.
Who are maybe closer to traditions, values.
They can only be forced. They are choosing Europe.
In
So you cannot force refugee not to come somewhere. That's the basic issue. Yes, they are going to Europe because Germany is promised land for them.
I just want to add one thing quickly because I'm from Pakistan. There is strong opinion in Pakistan basically that this is the negligence of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and all these prosperous countries because they have a lot of money as well. Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, and these Arab countries. So there's a strong opinion in Pakistan. Basically, this is the negligence of Middle Eastern countries, the affluent countries, and even including the Pakistan other countries as well. So they
thank you.
That what is the opinion?
Good insight. Thank you.
Other questions? This is delightful. This is what a global conversation is literally all about, Phil. So let's give another round of applause to our three final speakers. Special shout out to Christy and Alicia who make all this stuff happen behind the scenes. And we have one final commercial. Christy, help me with the date. So all of the fellows present on...
For the capstone
Yes.
conference, that's Monday afternoon, April 25th. You'd all be welcome to come. That will be in the forum on the second floor of the Cronkite School. And then that same week, on Wednesday afternoon, April 27th, is our graduation program and reception honoring the Humphrey Fellows. And many of them will be leaving Phoenix at the end of that week. So that's your best and greatest opportunity.
Very dramatic, very worth it.
April 25th
Emotional.
and April 27th.
Could I just have all the Humphrey Fellows stand up? Just let's give them all a round of applause. They've all been working very, very hard. It's just like the Oscars. In the month of February, we take them on the road all over this country, and they're going on the road to cool places next week, including back to Philippines in about 24 hours. But they'll be back, and you've still got about 8 weeks left to enrich yourself with their lives. So thank you, and thanks for coming.
Oh, wow.
Probably won't see you go down one of the days.
I was saying
Same here with Angela.
Are you going
and I've had some of the students from there already, and also give lectures around the country like I do in China. But I have